I want to go to Senator Mike Rounds, kind enough to join us, the South Dakota Republican and Armed Services Committee and Foreign Relations, among others. Senator, we do know now, it looks like pretty likely this thing was going over South Dakota skies as it had Montana. We don't know where it is now. How do you feel about that? What have you learned about that? Have residents in your state pointed to it or gotten an eye on it?
I was advised yesterday that there was a possibility of sightings. That was in a classified discussion. But I can tell you that they apparently knew about it earlier. The real question, the first question, why would they ever let it get into our airspace in the first place? It should never have been allowed into the airspace. We have the technical capabilities. We could have taken it out before it ever came in. I want to know why. Second of all, what happened to the chain of command here? Was there not someone along the line who had the authorization to make that decision? Did it have to go all the way through to the President of the United States under this administration in order to protect, the airways that we've got? Now, recognizing that this was only supposedly an observation balloon, the real question then after that is how soon do they find out that it was only an observation balloon? And along with that, who made the political decision that it should be allowed to enter simply because they felt that it was harmless? And what does that do on the political basis to the United States in terms of how the rest of the world looks at us? Can you simply just walk all over us? Or for that matter, simply invade our airspace and move on? Those are the questions, but it starts with, why was it ever allowed into our airspace in the first place? We have the capabilities. Never should have happened.
You know, I don't want to compare apples and oranges, Senator, but it does ring a lot like the early readings we're getting on the classified documents within the administration and how they were explaining them. And in this case, if they were aware, as they seem to be indicating, of this presence for some days, why all of a sudden is it today that they decided to cancel Antony Blinken's trip to China?
I can't tell you for sure. We're going to ask that question, but I think along with it, and it's close to the same question, is would we have ever been advised that this had occurred in the first place? If the incursion would have happened and then it would have slipped back out again, like they have suggested it has happened in the past,
all right,
and would they have simply not even talked about it?
I don't mean to be rude, sir, but Antony Blinken is addressing this very subject. I want to listen in.
Undermined the very purpose of the trip, including ongoing efforts, as I said, to build a floor under the relationship, as well as to address a very broad range of issues that are important to Americans, to Chinese, to the entire world. So that is why I conveyed to Wang Yi, the senior foreign policy official in China this morning, that I was postponing the travel. And that we will look to see about doing the trip when conditions allow. I'm not going to put a date or time on that, because what we're focused right now is on making sure that this ongoing issue is actually resolved. The first step, as I said, is getting the surveillance asset out of our airspace.
With regard to your question about North Korea's illicit cyber activities, as you may know, after the UN Security Council...
All right, we're still monitoring that. Antony Blinken did temporarily or briefly address this subject of why he declined a meeting to go to China to meet with his counterpart there. And again, Senator Rounds, it gets back to what you and I were discussing. I'm sorry for rudely interrupting you, that it didn't make sense, because if you're from the administration, you're saying you knew about this or aware of this for days, and presumably just as outraged over that period as you were today to cancel a meeting with your Chinese counterpart. I'm talking about the Secretary of State. Why didn't you do so a few days ago? Your thoughts?
Yeah, look, I would suspect that it's being canceled, and once again, we'll have to ask them that question, but I would suspect that it's being canceled because we found out about it. I think if the incursion would have occurred and they would have turned it around or maneuvered it out of our airspace again, we probably wouldn't have found out about it, and I would suspect that the meeting might very well have continued on. But once again, it comes right back down to they knew it was in our airspace. They allowed it to happen. They made the decision not to take it out. And I just heard I heard part of his discussion, but suggesting that they wanted it out of our airspace. He did not indicate, from what I could hear, whether we were going to take it out or if we were going to let it simply float on its merry way. I most certainly would expect that we would never allow them to have that observation balloon back, one way or another. It'd be nice to be able to get our hands on it, to recover it, and to actually find out what the technologies were that were involved, if it was designed to actually collect data, or if it was designed to test our response capabilities.
We'll watch it closely. The Senator Rounds, it is amazing. A lot of unanswered questions, a lot of things that don't click. Thank you very, very much.